Welcome to 2 Hours, No Traffic, a New York, Philadelphia sports podcast. We are your hosts of this glorious show. I'm Spen Harris. He's Philly Brandon. And week 2 of the NFL football season has concluded. Definitely an eventful first 2 weeks, Brandon.
I mean, yeah, you've had some classics. I paid attention to the whole league. I don't care about another thing other than the fact that our two teams are 2-0. First time since we've started this podcast, that's been the case. And it looks like the times are changing up there in North Jersey. Kind of BS, but that's a whole separate issue. Brian Dable's got the boys believing, Spence.
Yeah, no, this team is look, you watched week 1 against the Titans and you thought, okay, you lose on this last second field goal. You're going to go 0-1 again. All of a sudden, Randy Bullock misses the game-winning kick. The Giants hold on for the W after Brian Dable showed his big pair of balls and went for 2 to essentially win the game instead of tie. So now all of a sudden you're 1-0 for the first time in forever. You have a scared, intimidated Baker Mayfield coming to the Meadowlands in week 2. Giants haven't won a home opener in God knows how long. What do? You take care of business. And what I like about these 2 wins by the Giants, and we can kind of start with the Panthers game because I was there. I lived it.
That had to be the longest football game in history. I watched it at home, and I stayed watching. I watched all 4 quarters because you were there and no other reason. But, man, was that tough to watch, dude.
So it's funny the way the game started, right? I almost said the Titans. The Panthers fumbled the kickoff right away, like whistle blows. Giants force a turnover, Giants ball, and you're hyped. And then the Giants get 3, and then I don't know if there was another fumble, something happened, but the Giants were like knocking on the door, and then they get 3 again, and then the next 100 possessions, the Giants offense just stalled out. And Daniel Jones looked bad, and the crowd, which was ridiculously, loud the entire game. I mean, that was a true Giants home opener because, we showed up and we were raucous, and it was a good crowd. But
which Dable asked for, right? Like that was he made a point saying like, we need you guys in the stands. You're part of the changing culture. Like show out, and you did.
I mean, our offense in like quarters 2 and 3 was bad, but when they scored that touchdown to go up, it was like 12-6, maybe 13-6. That woke us up, and then we scored on the next possession, I believe, to tie up the game. And then it was just a matter of like who wanted it more, who was gonna rise to the occasion. Wink Martindale has this Giants defense playing very well. They didn't sack Baker a ton. I mean, they had one play at the very end of the game to get pressure on him. And I think it was an incomplete pass, but he was running for his life a lot of that game. And I give credit where credit is due. Joe Shane has come in. He's picked a head coach who seems like a decent leader. He has a great personality in Wink Martindale as your defensive coordinator. And if this offense can get it together, maybe, just maybe, we'll be on the same level as you guys over there in Philly.
Well, and we're going to get to them. Believe me, I have plenty to say about the Eagles, but we don't get to talk about the Giants in a positive light all that often. Now, look, the first 2 weeks, like you said, you found ways to win. The defense, I do think, is legit, but they've been ugly wins. They've been letting you hang around kind of wins. The Panthers are obviously a really bad football team. I think Rule gets fired midway through the season, but that could just be me. Is this going to last? I mean, when the Giants start playing teams that aren't going to hand you football games, do you still think they can make it happen?
I need to see more from Daniel Jones to think it will. They've won 2 games essentially in spite of him. He did not play well on Sunday. He played well enough, but again, against, like you said, an atrocious Panthers team. I like the way the defense is playing. I like the fact that Saquon Barkley is once again our MVP.
And he has had 2. Sorry to cut you off. You're missing a lot of talent on defense too. Like you're missing some of your key guys.
Our first round pick hasn't played yet. I think he'll be ready for week 3. He's supposed to be like a difference maker to the nth degree. But I don't know. Everyone on this team has sort of, surprised you throughout the first 2 weeks, other than Danny Jones and other than Kenny Galladay, who appears to not be on the team anymore.
Well, that's the very next topic. I saw from our friend Alex Wilson over there that his locker was noticeably empty following the game. Now, obviously, he was a big ticket free agent when they brought him in, and he's never really panned out. And, with guys like Shepard starting to put it together, the infinite talent of Kadarius Toney, when he's right, is he gone? Is it over?
I saw a defensive player on the Giants. I forget who it was, but they said my locker room was cleared out 2 hours after the game too. We don't leave our stuff in the locker rooms. I don't know. Dable has said after the games, right, with Toney in game 1 and then Galladay in game 2, he's kind of said that he's going to play the hot hand. He's going to play the guys that have been competing in practice, that have been putting on. And a guy that had a pretty good game in game 2, who was a nice target for Daniel Jones late in the game, I think it's David Sills. So, he's been getting some snaps. Like you said, Shepard's still there. This guy, Richie James, has been playing in the slot. He's been pretty good. And it's just weird because it seems like Galladay is just not needed right now. David Sills the 5th. He has a V after his, which is wild. I mean, the fact that 4 guys before him were named David Sills.
Same middle name too. Yeah, it's got to be all the way down the line, whatever that to count. So that's kind of ridiculous. And then while we're here, Richie James sounds like somebody who would write 1980s line dance music.
I like the name Richie James. I think it's catchy. And it definitely, I don't know why, but the name Richie James, it sounds like a slot receiver, right? Wes Welker, Richie James. You know what I'm saying?
That's not how syllables work, pal. Richie and Wes are not the same amount of syllables.
Don't tell me how syllables work. I know about syllables.
I don't think you do. Speaking of, getting clowned in front of millions of viewers, such as yourself, the Vikings, again, decided to come into Philadelphia on primetime, and I heard it all. I heard it from my buddies. I heard it from the media. Justin Jefferson is going to torch you guys. The receiving core is too good. Dalvin Cook's too good. Kirk Cousins is too good. When did we start fearing the Minnesota Vikings? It was sad. I heard it in Philly. I heard people worried about playing the Vikings. And, Justin Jefferson, whether he said it or not, a Minnesota Vikings reporter said, after the Vikings beat the Eagles, make sure to catch Jefferson's postgame. It's going to be not one to miss. They were already planning their shit-talking routine for after the game. And we never got there because they never had a chance. Jalen Hurts came out, looked like an MVP candidate. Darius Slay clamped up Justin Jefferson, put him in a car seat, as Zach McPherson said, which is probably one of my favorite things.
Let me ask you a quick question. Was it like the peak moment of your year when Darius Slay picked off Cousins and then handed the ball to James Harden? Was that just you were just peaking at that time, right?
The city was it was in sync. And we'll get to the link was rocking. It was a playoff atmosphere. It felt like the NFC Championship game back in 2017 when no matter who came into the building, anybody could get it on that kind of night. I cannot say enough about how good Jalen Hurts was. He was masterful the entire game.
Is he a top 5 quarterback right now?
Right now, yes. I mean, does his body of work speak to it? No. Is he all time? No. Is he in the league? No. But if you're talking about the top 5 hottest quarterback in football right now, he is absolutely one of them.
Yeah, that list is Tua Tagovailoa, Carson.
It's weird, but he's in there. He has the highest QBR in the league, albeit after 2 weeks.
He's had 2 ridiculous games. Now, look, this isn't going to last. He's not going to do what he's done to the Vikings. And who do you guys play in week 1?
Detroit.
He's not going to do what he did to the Vikings and the Lions every single week, right? I think we can agree that the NFC North is a pretty weak division, given that the Bears might have one of the worst quarterbacks in the league in Justin Fields, and Aaron Rodgers is throwing a freaking guys like me and you out there. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be, I think the Lions might, low-key be the best team in the NFC North. But I'm impressed. I mean, Hurts has been nothing short of phenomenal. Obviously, adding A.J. Brown to that offense has done wonders for him. But he's been looking like the guy. And I'm scared of the Eagles. You guys have a very formidable offense. You have a hungry defense. You guys can cover well. You don't give up the big play.
Thanks for Bradbury, by the way. Dude's probably he's a quarterback one on almost every other team.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you have is like an awkwardly weird coach in Nick Sirianno. But other than that, you guys are pretty good.
Who's quietly been an insane coach. I mean, considering 2-5 start last year, make the playoffs, start off 2-0 this year. He's awkward. He's weird. No one knows any of our coaches. Jonathan Gannon still sucks. I stand by it. He had a good night last night, but that doesn't undo all the sins of the past. And I didn't know who Shane Steichen was. You didn't hear about him last year. He took over play calling end of last season, this season. He's been phenomenal getting Hurts into position to succeed. And I just want to address the whole – because you brought it up, and I get what you're saying because I don't think Hurts is going to be the MVP of the league this year. I don't think that's the case. But it's when we beat teams, it's okay, it was easy. Like Minnesota coming into that game, like Eagles-Minnesota on Monday night, that was like a marquee game. People were watching that game to see, is Minnesota for real? Is Philly for real? Well, if we win that game handling, we beat up on Minnesota. All of a sudden, it's, well, you haven't played anybody yet. It's one or the other. It's not a marquee matchup, and then if we win, we haven't played anybody. Minnesota's a real team.
I will say this. You can only play the teams on your schedule. And out of your first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like, you guys don't really play a good team until Green Bay in November. I'm going to read to you the Eagles' schedule. You tell me what the hardest game is, okay? Okay, you beat Detroit, you beat Minnesota, then you play Washington next week. That'll actually be a pretty good game. You guys should win, but it's going to be close. Then you play Jacksonville. Jacksonville is not good. Then you play Arizona, a team that has, barely won last week.
That's a good win, though. If you beat Arizona, I mean, that's a talented franchise.
I guess. Dallas, October 16th. If Dak plays, that's a tough game. If he doesn't, you guys should win. Pittsburgh, October 30th. They look bad. At Houston, you're winning that. November 14th is Washington again. November 20th is the Colts. And then the 27th, like I said, the Packers. You guys don't play that hard of a schedule. But having said that, you can only play the teams on your schedule. Now, let me ask you a question about the win on Monday night against the Vikings. Who do you think hates Mondays more, Kirk Cousins or Garfield?
I thought his throne was pretty much set for life, but I think Kirk Cousins might hate Mondays even more.
You want to go viral?
Real bad.
If you want to go viral, make a meme with Kirk Cousins' face on Garfield's body that says, I hate Mondays. But I love lasagna.
Someone's got to be intro. He was real bad. Like real bad. I'm gonna give Slay his flowers because he played phenomenal coverage on Justin Jefferson all night. Do not get me wrong. But man, did Kirk Cousins help. I mean, he was throwing ducks right at him. When you rewatch the game, Slay should have had 4 picks.
Yeah, no, I
mean, the fact he had 2 and left some on the table is bad. When
Cousins is bad, he's really bad. Like, he's the definition of a gunslinger gone wrong.
Yeah, and I'd rather have Brett Favre. But look, Brett Favre threw a lot of picks. Jameis Winston throws a lot of picks. But they're downfield picks. They're overthrows. They're fitting it in tight windows. If you look at some of the picks from Kirk Cousins last night, they were horrible balls. I mean, he was 10 yards short. He was wide. He wasn't even in the ballpark. And I want to pose a question to you, since neither one of us really have a tight, relation to the Vikings. I hate them personally. At what point do the Vikings look at Kirk Cousins the same way we looked at Carson Wentz and go, you know what? He's good, but he's not good enough, and that's all that matters.
So my buddy, shout out to Jersey Joe from the old version of this podcast. He's a diehard Vikings fan. Look, he had a bad week. You guys punked him. They won in week 1. You still have Justin Jefferson on this roster. You still have Dalvin Cook. You still have Adam Thielen. I mean, he can have a great game in week 3 and us talking about how he was awful in week 2, it'll just be, ancient history.
Yeah.
I don't put him in the same category as Carson Wentz because we've seen clutch moments from Kirk Cousins in his career. We've seen him make plays to win big ball games, and I just don't think he's had those moments as much as Wentz has. And clearly the Vikings don't either. I mean, they believe in him year in, year out. But, I'm not comparing him to Drew Brees. With a guy like Cousins, you're going to get some of these dud games. I say that because, back in the day when Brees was in his prime, Brees would have like 14, 15 great regular season games, and he would have one dud. Cousins is more like 11 to 12 pretty good regular season games and 4 or 5 duds. You just got to deal with the duds, man.
I mean, I agree, but in recent memory, when was the last time Kirk Cousins won you a big game? For one, they're not in them, and he's the starting quarterback, so it starts and ends with you. And the last time they were in the NFC Championship game. That was Case Keenum got him there. So you kind of
Ask
look back
me
and it's
if I'd rather have Daniel Jones or Kirk Cousins.
You'd rather have Kirk Cousins. Everybody would. That's that's pretty obvious.
It's hard for me to poop on him. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to be like, the Vikings shouldn't have Kirk Cousins when I'm parading around Daniel. I like to throw interceptions whenever I have the opportunity, Jones.
Yeah. I think with Kirk Cousins, the Giants are a 500 ball club. With Daniel Jones, you're below. I know we can circle back to them because you've been sending me these private chats left and right. It's not happening. What Spence is trying to talk himself into is an Odell reunion. He's never coming back. There's no
Odell
way.
Beckham Jr. is definitely coming back, okay? He has his eyes set on the Meadowlands. He's ready to make his return. He just saw Chad Powers working out over there at Penn State. Odell Beckham Jr. Do you know what I'm referencing with Chad Powers? Did you watch it?
Oh, yes, the Eli Manning video. Yes.
Come on, Odell saw that. He's like, man, I miss my guy Eli. He's still part. And you don't think Eli's hitting up Odell being like, yo, come play in New York. I'll tell Daniel Jones to throw you the ball. He listens to whatever I say.
Well, that's part of the question. What if you're Odell, and presumably other teams are interested, why would you go to the team with one of the worst starting quarterbacks in football?
Because Odell loved New York, and New York loved Odell. There is a history there in which, we were infatuated with that man, like you guys were infatuated with Allen Iverson in the early 2000s.
I get it from your perspective. There's no reason you wouldn't want Odell. I'm saying if I'm Odell and I'm still one of the most talented receivers in the league, why would I choose the franchise who can't throw the deep ball, can't throw an accurate pass, and can't protect their quarterback to help me restart my elite wide receiver regime?
He's not trying to be an elite wide receiver anymore, dude. He won a Super Bowl. He got that out of his system. He wants to come back to New York to finish what he started. And he loved it here, bro. I saw Odell Beckham, true story, walk out of Ruth's Chris in Weehawken, New Jersey, get into his car. There was a paparazzi following him. He turned to me. He looked me dead in the eye. He said, man, I love playing for the Giants. You're the most handsome dude I've ever seen. Go Giants. And I was like, amen.
The second part of that statement is more likely accurate than the first.
All right, I'll go with that.
But look, I can gloat about our teams all day. I would love to do so, but I kind of want to talk about Detroit a little bit, just because we both watched Hard Knocks. I'm kind of obsessed with it now. It's my first season watching Hard Knocks.
It's a great show.
I'm kind of all in on Dan Campbell. His success is my success now.
So that week 1 win must have been mixed emotions for you.
No, it was perfect. That's how I wanted to win. Because I wanted to win. I'm an Eagles fan above everything else, but that's how I wanted to win. I didn't want to blow Detroit out because I know Dan worked too hard for that.
I'm with you. I look, Amon St. Brown, you saw the snippet they did of him. What what does he have to catch 203 balls because someone back in the day was catching 202 balls? There's a meme that I sent my buddy who drafted him, and it's this one girl whispering in another girl's ear, and she's looking at something. And she goes, I heard he drafted Amon St. Brown in the 6th round. Clever. He's been awesome. The duo of DeAndre Swift and Jamal, what's his name? Jamal Williams. They've been really good. And I forgot who it was. I was it Campbell or was it somebody else? They were interviewing one of the coaches, and it was Kelvin Shepard, the linebacker.
The linebacker coach.
And did you see that? Did you see that quote?
I didn't see the interview now.
He was basically like, you got to let Jamal be Jamal. And he goes, there's a lot of organizations where, if he's singing or he's playing or if he's messing with fans before the game or if he's dancing in the huddle, a lot of coaches will tell him to cut that out. But if you cut that out, you don't get the same Jamal Williams on the field. And basically his point was, we like to build our guys up and let them be them and let them show their personalities. One of the worst things to ever happen to football and to sports in general is, refs coming down on guys celebrating touchdowns and the unsportsmanlike calls and stuff like that. Football is such an emotional game. Hey, you're putting your body on the line every single week. You can get severely injured on any play in the game. So, if you get a 70-yard touchdown or you get even a 15-yard run for a first down, I think you have the right to go freaking apeshit. So, I thought it was a good quote. And also Kelvin Shepard, former player in the league, he gets it. That's what you love about Dan Campbell's coaching staff. They're all former players. They all freaking get it.
That's the best part about Dan Campbell. I mean, I think he's a pretty good football mind. I think he's got good coaches around him to do that. But I mean, if you're a player, that's who you want to play for. The guy who's doing up downs with you. No offense to I'm going to use Andy Reid here, but you have these football minds who clearly have never walked it and been through it like that. I mean, if you're going to play for Dan Campbell, he's not going to ask you to do anything he didn't have to do on 6 different franchises. He'll still do it right now with you. They're not the most talented team. He knows that. The guys on the team know that, but they're good enough. They have enough talent this year where it's not going to be a problem. Amon St. Brown's a legit number 1. He just got, what was it? It was his 8th game in a row with 80-plus yards or some ridiculous stat like that. He's one of 4 guys in history to do it. Jared Goff is enough. You have 2 great running backs. You have a defense that's ferocious. Jared Goff is good enough? That
was just the backhanded insult.
That's the best thing you can say about him. He's good enough. Is he? I think he's better than Daniel Jones, if that makes you feel better or worse.
It doesn't, but kind of worse actually.
I think you're better with Jared Goff than you are with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, probably. He's more accurate.
Is there a quarterback?
Give me a more accurate quarterback than a guy who can run any day of the week.
So who might be available? It sounds like is Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. I'd actually prefer Daniel Jones
over Ryan Tannehill.
I think Ryan Tannehill had one good season. He was a flash in the pan, and I just don't think he's a great quarterback.
I don't think he's a great quarterback either, but we're not talking about great. We're talking about serviceable.
No,
Daniel Jones kind of hurts your team.
Tannehill's prime has come and went. I don't. Again, we beat him in week 1. I don't want him. I don't want Baker Mayfield either.
Oh no, he might be a backup quarterback after this season. He might not make the season. The Carolinas got a lot of other issues besides Baker Mayfield, but he is absolutely one of them.
He can't see over the line. He's not quick enough to elude tacklers.
As a fellow short king, I had a hard time watching that because he really set the movement back quite a ways. He and Russell Wilson, for that matter.
Quickly going back to the Lions, we can't forget about Aiden Hutchinson. Guy is a stud.
Dude's an animal. Dude is
legitimate Pro Bowler in the making.
Probably this year. Could be this year. He's that good. And I heard. All right. It was funny. I was watching the game. Someone said, "Oh, can you believe he slipped to 2?" I get it. He might be the best defensive player in the draft. No one slips to 2. Let's get that out of the way.
Who was number 1? Remind me.
I don't remember who had number 1 pick.
I have no idea. I'm blanking.
because it wasn't a quarterback for once.
Yeah. You're gonna have to tell me.
I'm gonna have to
Too
look
busy
it up.
looking on Twitter at these the Kyler Murray 2-point conversion. So this person wrote at Jordan_Reed. Jordan Reed is an ESPN NFL draft analyst. So Kyler Murray basically like scrambled for like 30 seconds and then basically ran in the 2-point conversion. He wrote one of the greatest scouting report one-liners ever about Kyler Murray. He runs like a toddler that just stole their parents' phone. Haven't been able to unsee it since that. That's amazing. Who is the first pick?
Still Trayvon Walker, DN to Jacksonville.
Oh.
Plays the same position as Hutchinson. So that guy's going to have a tough shadow forever.
He will. All right. I have some other stories I want to get to. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the New York Jets.
True. Joe Flacco.
I mean,
not done yet?
Still elite?
Still elite. Never stopped.
Did the Jets win that game or did the Cleveland Browns lose that game by scoring a touchdown?
I hate this take. Okay, the Jets won this game. Look, should Chubb have scored? Probably not. Is that why they lost? Absolutely not. No way. Should you have that kind of a lead, lose, and then find some backwards way to pin it on the fact that your running back did his job too well? That is absurd.
I don't know. I mean, football is the one game where keep away makes sense. And, they interviewed Nick Chubb, and he believes his late touchdown cost the Browns the game in the last-minute loss to the New York Jets. And you're right. Obviously, the Jets had to make the plays to come back and win the game. But if you just go down, game's over. I'm sorry. That's how football works.
No, I get that. Like, I get that he could have won the game by going down. I also don't think that the Browns as a whole get to excuse themselves for what happened in that fourth quarter by pinning it on Nick Chubb. Like, you have, a 17-point lead at some point, if I'm not mistaken? And you lose.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
And you lose to the Jets with a backup quarterback, and the reason that you lost, you're saying, is because your running back scored a touchdown.
I don't know. Maybe Chubb just got a little too excited.
He should have been a half Chubb.
Maybe a quarter Chubb. Maybe they win that game.
Chubb should have finished too soon.
Chubb came too quickly.
Now we're just saying it.
No, and I bring this up also because did you see the clip of the little kid who gets ice cream every time the Jets win?
No.
It's classic. So he was talking to Sauce Gardner. I guess they were doing this interview. The kid had to be like 10 or 11, maybe. He's probably younger. He's probably like 6 or 7. And the kid goes, my dad said he'll take me to ice cream every time the Jets win. How many times am I going to go for ice cream this season? Sauce Gardner's like, a lot. I thought that was funny.
I like what the dad's doing there because you don't feel pain that young. He's preparing that kid for a lifetime of Jets fandom by starting disappointment as early as humanly possible.
True story. My dad used to take me to Hooters every time I made 2 free throws in a row in a basketball game. That was if I hit 2 in a row, he'd be like, all right, Hooters after the game.
All of a sudden, Spence's Ray Allen as an 8-year-old.
Did we want to talk about the fact that there's only one other team in the NFC that's 2-0 right now?
Who else is it? I thought it was just you and I.
One other team in the whole NFC. I'll give you a hint. Their quarterback is starting to look like handsome Squidward.
Handsome. Is San Fran 2-0?
No, San Fran's, I think, 1-1. Look at the Twitter I send you here on the private chat. Take a look.
Dude, I can't check it on my laptop.
Oh, okay. It's Tom Brady.
Oh, okay. I see handsome Squidward now.
Thank you.
Oh, dude. Okay. Before we get to the football part, what are the odds that what are the odds that his Wednesdays off are for marriage counseling?
Yeah, I mean, they're high. right?
It's almost certain.
Look, and you don't have to be blind to understand that football takes a lot out of your life, right? It's just going to happen. Like, you can still be a great dad, you can still be a great husband, but it's a full-time job. And it's, so how many years has like his wife just thought, okay, this is it. He's won his a millionth Super Bowl. Finally, he's coming home. Okay, last season he lost, in the NFC Championship. Now he could come home, and he just keeps coming back. At some point, you have to go to marriage counseling.
Yeah. And look, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this because Tom's still a good quarterback. But at what point?
Hold on, before you do, guys, don't hate on Brandon. To all our millions of listeners out there, please don't hate on. Okay, go ahead.
You heard that, Mom? As great as Brady is, at what point does the NFL become your old high school and Brady's the guy that keeps coming back to visit?
He's O'Bannon in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, like at a certain point, dude, it's time. Everyone's going to understand your time. No matter how good you are, it still might be time. Like, there's a new guard coming in.
I didn't really see this, but so okay, the Bucs played the Saints. Tough game. Bucs won. Mike Evans was ejected from the game because he basically launched himself at Marshawn Lattimore after a play. Lattimore was in Brady's face. Evans is on video saying to the ref after he got ejected, "What do you want me to do? It's Tom Brady." Then there was another video of Bruce Arians, who happened to be on the sidelines for that game. He's not coach anymore. Todd Bowles is the head coach. And apparently there was a video of Arians sort of like, I don't know, telling Mike Evans to go after Lattimore. So what do you make of Bruce Arians still being on the sideline in Tampa Bay? I think it's a horrible idea, and I think it sends mixed signals to the players.
So I watched an interview because they asked Todd Bowles about it post-game. And the only reason that Arians was on the sidelines in Jacksonville is because the suite that he would use as the executive advisor to the GM or whatever he is, Jacksonville doesn't have one. So he was suiteless, so that's why he was on the sideline. He's not typically a sideline guy.
You
do,
about
however,
New Orleans?
Huh?
You said Jacksonville.
New Orleans, wherever they played.
I was confused.
They didn't have a suite. They didn't have a box for him to coach from, so he coached from the sidelines on away games.
Okay.
I don't, however, have a problem with him using Mike Evans as the team's enforcer because Mike Evans is an enormous individual.
It's pretty big.
Like, you send that man in for sure. Plus, he has the most beef with New Orleans outside of Hurricanes.
I have some breaking Giants news. You ready for this?
It's okay.
Brian Dable sent a note to Giants season ticket holders asking them to wear white to create a whiteout for Monday Night Football. Giants will be wearing their color rush jerseys. Let me explain something to you, Brandon.
That's kind of sick.
Brian Dable has come into New York, one of the most famous sports cities in the country. Have we seen a lot of success in the last decade? We have not. But he has come here, and he has turned this team into a Buffalo Bills-like personality. It's amazing. If you get all freaking, I don't know, however many tens of thousands of people from New Jersey and New York to dress in the same way, we're talking about one of the most diverse places in the entire world, and you get 50, 60,000 people to just wear white, you're a legend.
Yeah, not to mention, like, the fashion capital of the East Coast. Everyone's going to try and have, like, their own game day fit, got to look different, got to wear, like, this outlandish stuff. If you get those people, like the fashion influencers, if you get them in white T-shirts, he's a god among men.
That's pretty sick. All right, I'm sorry. What is there anything else we wanted to talk about? We covered Bucks, we covered Jets. Anything else on your mind after 2 weeks of NFL football?
I think I got through just about what I wanted to get through on my docket. We ran a tad over this week, but football's back. That's going to happen from time to time. You're going to get 5 minutes of free bonus content. Not like the other 30 minutes wasn't also free, but we're working on it.
Listen, if you listen to us, you know what we do. You know the content we put out. We don't always follow, the straight edge line. but that's because we're real. We know sports. We know football. We know basketball. That's about it. Brandon knows a little baseball. I know a little ping pong.
Enlighten me.
Yeah.
Last minute and a half. Ping pong news. What you
It's
got?
also called table tennis. You play to 21. They made a movie about it, Balls of Fury. Maybe you've seen it. Maybe you haven't.
I have seen it. It's spectacular. All right,
It's a
that
good
was
movie.
15 seconds of ping pong with Spenny Harris.
I also went 0-5 on my bachelor party. So my confidence level in ping pong is pretty low. Also, Kevin Durant showed up at training camp for the Brooklyn Nets. So happy that happened.
That's a good start. We have plenty of time to stress about our two basketball franchises. Right now, let's just keep the good times rolling.
Yeah, I mean, your guys, celebrating Eagles wins. My guy's playing pickleball.
That's so old, dude. So old and lame.
All right, Brandon, you ready to call this one?
Yeah, let's give her a wrap.
Thank you guys for listening to 2 Hours No Traffic, brought to you by Sideline Sports. We appreciate you, and please tune in next week to hear two idiots ramble on about the Giants and the Eagles.
Maybe 3 idiots. If we can find somebody, we'll let you know.
Oh, might have a third idiot.
Could be.